Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I, Ragini Bose from XIME Bangalore, will be your MC for today. I will also be joined by Mr. Sebin Joseph. We welcome the founder of XIME and chairman of XIME Bangalore, Professor J. Philip, chairman of XIME Kochi, Ambassador C.P. Ravindranathan, and director of XIME Bangalore, Dr. M. Nalayappan. We are honored to have with us Dean Academic, XIME Bangalore, Professor Madhukumar, faculty, guests, and students. On behalf of XIME Bangalore, we would like to warmly welcome you all to the Maria Philip Memorial Best Speaker Competition 2022. Our esteemed panel of judges for the day are studded with industry stalwarts. They are Ms. Pooja Marwaha, CEO of Child Rights and You, Dr. Arpita Datta, Founder Director, Cherry Skills, Ms. Padmaja Alaganandan, Chief People Officer, PwC India, and Ms. Shalini Amalan, Product Owner, IBM. This competition is conducted every year on the 9th of April on Maria's birthday, also celebrated as Foundation Day here at XIME. Today, as we sit in this auditorium, we must remember the dream of a young girl, Maria, a girl who aspired to create an egalitarian society and build a model management school for India's youth. We are here because of a promise, one made between Maria and her loving father, Professor J. Philip. He honored his commitment to his daughter, and even though she never lived to see her goals realized, her desire was accomplished in May 1991. For her early education, she attended the Sacred Hearts Convent School in Jamshedpur and subsequently completed her ICSE from Loreto Convent, Ranchi in 1980. She received her BA honors from Delhi's Jesus and Mary College. Maria was pursuing her master's degree at the Madras School of Social Work, where she was a part of the Human Resources Department. Known as a popular student, she excelled in both academics and extracurricular activities, along with being a fantastic communicator, organizer, and leader. As a testament to these very skills, she was elected head girl at Loreto Convent, Ranchi. Unsurprisingly, she was also the secretary of the Debating Society at Jesus and Mary College in Delhi, as well as the games captain at Jesus and Mary School. In 1984, she was voted the most popular girl at her college's All India Cultural Festival, Montage. Maria was always very intrigued by social issues and the advancement of society. She was in the final year of her master's degree program when on 30th September 1986, on what seemed like just another day, she was on her way back from a day's field work at Indian Airlines in Meenambakkam, Chennai, when she lost her life in a tragic accident. Maria was only 22 and a half years old, putting her at the same age bracket as many of us in this room. Maria, you will live forever, is what her friends embodied when they donned a black band with a picture of her on their chests at her funeral. The Maria Philip Educational Trust was established to keep her legacy alive and give light to her interest in societal development. On December 11, 1986, the trust was registered in Bangalore. Today's event, the Maria Philip Memorial Best Speaker Competition, was conceived and conceptualized to commemorate Maria in a pledge to keep her alive in our memories. This institute is a testament to her aspirations to inspire scores of students and future leaders. We carry it within us as we conduct today's Best Speaker competition. Despite Professor J. Philip being the name behind XIME, it is Maria who remains the inspiration behind this institute that many of us like to call our home. Every year, we celebrate the unforgettable legacy of a visionary, an inspiration, and a name we forever look up to, Maria Philip. I would now like to call Mr. Sebin to introduce to you our judges.
It gives me immense pleasure to introduce to you our esteemed panel of judges. Beginning with Ms. Pooja Marwaha, Chief Executive, Child Rights in You, is the fervent believer that children are the very foundation of every nation's growth and development aspirations. After a liberal arts and human resources development education, Pooja Marwaha made the transition from the corporate to the social sector in her career. She joined CRI in 1994 to set up the organization's human resource function. For the past 27 years, Pooja have helped build an organizational framework for CRI that best captures the essence of justice and equity. Pooja believes that children should be at the heart of all human development work. It was this belief that fueled her passion for the children's right and inspired her to become a full-fledged part of CRI. We welcome you, ma'am. We have with us Ms. Padmaja Alanganandan, a partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers. She leads the People and Change Consulting practice in India. In her 20 years of consulting experience across business and human capital consulting, Padmaja has worked with several leading Indian and global organizations across different industries. Padmaja has consulted with several board and senior management teams on issues of people strategy and impact on business. She has also been a member of CII's National HR Committee as well as its Committee on Skill Development. She is a founding partner in Bangalore for Social Venture Partners, an organization focused on making a difference in social issues at the local level. Padmaja completed a graduation from the University of Madras and a post-graduation from the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. We welcome you, ma'am. We have with us Dr. Arpita Datta, founder-director of Cherry Skills, a boutique training, coaching, consulting, and e-learning company registered in Bangalore. Arpita is a global professional, people person, creative thinker, behavioral scientist, and has over 20 years of excellent track record in various human resource domains. She has been awarded as one of the top 10 XIMERA Jamshedpur leaders, Iconic Women Leader, Training, Learning and Development by Asia GCC 2021. She has also been designated as one of the top 10 most promising women leaders in soft skills industry and many more to enumerate. We are grateful to have you here, ma'am. We have with us Ms. Shalini Amalan, Product Owner, IBM. She's an alumnus of Jyoti Nivas College, Bangalore, and pursued her management studies from the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. With over 18 years of experience, Ms. Shalini's field of expertise is spread across various domains such as software testing, project management, and product training, to name a few. Following her passion in developing individual skills, she holds the position of trustee in Translife Foundation and is the managing committee member in the Indian Society for Training and Development. She is an extremely ambitious, highly resourceful, and skilled IT professional with a demonstrated history of working in the information technology and service industry. We welcome you, ma'am. We will now commence the Maria Philip Memorial Best Speaker Competition 2022. The topic for the competition is Economic Growth is More Important Than Ecological Protection. The rules of the competition are as follows. The speaker will speak for the motion or speak against the motion for 4 minutes. There will be a warning bell at the end of 3.5 minutes and a final bell at the end of 4 minutes. There will be negative marking in case the speaker exceeds the 4-minute time limit. No expression which is offensive, personal, or defamatory in nature will be accepted. The judge's decision will be final and binding. Participants, please note that you will be evaluated for the Best Speaker category as well as the runner-up positions. We wish all the participants all the very best. I would now like to request the participants to be escorted to the waiting room. I would request the first participant, Tavishi Chauhan, to stay back. I would now like to welcome the first speaker of the day, Ms. Tavishi Chauhan, who would be speaking against the motion.
Greetings, everyone. If you really believe that the environment is less important than the economy, try holding your breath while you count your money. And we all present here know that life will become a matter of mere breaths. Today, I, Tavishi Chauhan, will be speaking against the motion. Economic growth is more important than ecological sustainability. To anyone who believes in indefinite growth of a physically finite planet on a finite planet is either a madman or an economist. Today, humans consume over 76% more resources than the Earth produces each year. The consumption has gone from 27 billion tons in the 1970s to over 100 billion tons today. I repeat, from 27 billion tons to over 100 billion tons in just mere 50 years. The problem primarily lies with the rich countries gobbling up resources and pushing the poorer majority to ecological poverty. This gap between the consumption and Earth's capacity to regenerate resources is resulting in environmental deterioration. As per the report generated by the United Nations Environment Programme, by 2015, humans would devour an estimate of 150 billion tons of natural resources, which is 3 times the current Earth's capacity, basically leading to the world's end, unless economic growth is decoupled from natural resource consumption. This trend of high-income countries exploiting resources to basically sustain their lifestyles is pushing and eliminating the chances of poorer countries of eradicating their poverty. Low-income countries require 97% of the world's biocapacity to sustain, whereas high-income countries that only accommodate 14% of the world's population consume up to 52% of the Earth's biocapacity. I repeat, less than 14% and consume up to 42%. As per the World Bank, the GDP for today's world stands to be over $80 trillion, and 50% of this resource is only owned by 10 countries. 10 countries owning more than half of the world's GDP. These countries are US, China, UK, France, Brazil, Italy, Canada, and India. The United Nations has developed 17 goals, a blueprint for a better and more sustainable future. 7 of these majorly focus on the sustainability and protection of ecological environment, which is clean water and sanitation, climate change, life on earth, life on land, life underwater, clean and more affordable energy. Great authors like Michael R. Clare predict that the wars of the future will be fought over the diminishing supplies of our most precious natural resources. Today, we teach our children values, we teach them ethics, and we teach them morals. But for the coming world, will we be able to teach them how to share is the real question. To all of you who choose to look away every day because you're so afraid of making the minor changes required to avoid catastrophic climate change, then being afraid of the climate change itself, your silence is the worst of all. I beg all of you to take mere moments out of your money-making lives and decide today for your children and their children and theirs. Decide today for the kind of future you want to leave tomorrow. The world has sustained for centuries without economy, but never without ecology. Thank you so much.
I would now like to call the second participant, Mohammad Khalid Jamali, who would be speaking against the motion.
Afternoon greetings to one and all present here. This is Mohammad Khalid Jamali. The first thing that came to my mind when I was reading about this particular topic, the very famous quotation, health is wealth. Well, for good health, we need a good and nurturing environment, and that include a good number of creatures and plants in its labs. Every individual, including human being, are involved in a complex network of species which have interdependent functions. For me, ecology is more important than economy. In recent years, the current rate of extinction of species is about 10 times to 1,000 times more than usual, and 60% of ecosystem services have been degraded or either used unsustainably. According to me, ecological protection is preferred than economic growth because ecological protection is based on ecological sustenance. For me, as you know, ecology is the source of utmost all the raw materials required for the process of economic growth. Economic growth is for our greenness and comfortability, but ecological protection gives us life to live. We all are aware of climate change that is happening in today's world. We evolve from our nature. A good nurturing environment will give us good economic growth. But when we go against the nature for the development of networks, transport, industries, we cause a negative impact on the human's life in the form of disaster. Rising carbon emission due to mindless industrialization has risen the Earth's temperature, leading to the higher pace of glaciers melting, the sea levels rising, and when the sea levels rise, the coastal areas are wiped out. Oh, the loss of economy. Ecosystem has a capacity to absorb. For example, oceans has a limit to absorb waste. Polluting industries are exceeding the capacity of planet Earth, which is leading to the difference of intergenerational parity. If a country is preferring the economic development, but it should not go over the ecological development, because when a country is going for a economic development, then our life is in danger. If ecological development and economic development goes hand in hand, then we can talk about some growth because our environment is the utmost thing. For all of us, the increasing income is the most focused thing. But when we go back to the production side, the most of the biggest company invest most on agriculture and raw materials. In coming years, if we don't go on sustainability, there would be an imbalance between economic and ecology, because in coming years there won't be any natural resources. Although our paths are different today, but in the light of environment, there is a common future. If ecological, if ecological, if economic development is an asset, then ecological protection is the capital to maneuver us towards it. I repeat, if economic development is the asset, then ecological development is a capital to maneuver towards it. Thank you.
I would now like to welcome the third speaker, Abhishek Nair, who would be speaking for the motion.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Abhishek Nair. I'm from XIMERA, Bangalore, and I will be speaking for the motion. Economic development is more important than ecological protection. Not too long ago, we were all held strongly in the clutches of a global pandemic. During COVID, we all witnessed that the ecological balance improved, with improvement in air quality, reduction in water pollution, and increase in biodiversity. But it came with an economic slowdown. It resulted in the loss of jobs, financial distress to millions, and a phase of depression and pessimism. We are all connected to the economic development as much as we are connected to the ecological balance. We must realize that ecological balance is essential for our survival, but economic development is what provides us our livelihood. A WHO report suggests that there is no trade-off between ecological balance and economic development. In fact, the wealthiest of the countries today breathe the cleanest air. An economic theory called as the environmental Kuznets curve hypothesis actually validates this. It says that once you reach beyond a per capita income, your economic growth will in fact lead your ecological growth. Let's look at it again from another economic standpoint. Most of the developing countries in today's world, like India, China, Bangladesh, all of them predominantly have a low per capita income. They face the urgency to fulfill the basic human needs of the citizens, like food, shelter, health, and education. And they put great emphasis on this. There is another thesis called as a comparability thesis. What it suggests? It suggests that your growth in ecological balance will in fact contribute to your economic growth. It says that growth is seen as a prerequisite for improving your ecological balance. I repeat, growth is seen as a prerequisite to achieve your ecological balance. I would like to end by asking you all a question. Would you all be willing to enjoy a beautiful ecological balance that any of us can ever imagine of, but at the cost of letting someone sleep hungry? Thank you.
I would now like to call the next participant, Rishita Bhattacharya Kapoor, who would be speaking against the motion.
losing my future is not like losing an election or a few points on the stock market. I stand here today to speak on behalf of all the generations to come, to speak on behalf of those starving children whose cries go unheard. I speak here today on behalf of those countless animals who die every minute because they do not have anywhere else to go. I'm afraid to go out in the sun because there are holes in the ozone layer. I'm afraid to even breathe in the air around me because I do not know what chemicals are in it. Respected members of the jury, worthy opponents, and my patient listeners, please lend me your ears because you, just like me, are an integral part of this Mother Nature. I am Rishita Bhattacharya, opposing the motion today because I strongly believe that ecological protection is far more important than economic growth. At school and even in kindergarten, you teach us to behave in the world, to be good to others, to respect them all, share and not be greedy. But why do you shy away from telling us not to encroach agricultural lands to build factories, not to increase non-biodegradable byproducts, not to hug trees only for selfies, but to prevent afforestation? Homo sapiens have been impacting natural environment since ages. Economic development is important, but let me ask you a question here. At what cost? Constructing expressways in Maharashtra, killing seasonal crops every year, or building new complexes in Kedarnath, leading to massive cloudbursts, consuming non-renewable sources of energy, increasing levels of pollution, potential loss of natural habitat, global warming. There has been a 66% rise in pollution since 1960, a 30% increase in industrialized systems, and a 50% increase in migration from rural to urban areas. Even the annual temperatures have increased by 5.3%. So at the end, I would like to conclude by saying that the human society have to come up with these inevitable steps in order to create a trade-off between economic growth and its ecological impact. United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, green innovation, zero waste, precision agriculture. At the end, I would also like to conclude with an Hindi verse which says, क्या अजीब है ये सृष्टि भी जिसकी ब्रह्मा ने सृष्टि की, रच दिया तमो माया का जाल जिसमें हुआ जीवन बदहाल. Just as I need every bit of me, so does the earth need trees, grass and green. As long as life, as dear as free, I am the earth and the earth is me. Thank you.
I would now like to welcome the next speaker, Divya Pusa, who would be speaking against the motion.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. I am Divya and I would like to go against the motion. I believe that we don't have to sacrifice our ecology for economic development. I would like to state a few examples to support the statement. Firstly, India earns around $400 million through exports, which also includes the minerals, fuel, oils, etc. And the minerals that are exported are around $26 billion. So just imagine if the oils and the minerals are extinct one day, will there be an economic growth? Also, we build dams as a factor for economic growth. But there was an incident last year in November where Andhra Pradesh has experienced unprecedented rains that is around 700 millimeters in 24 hours, which has caused a destruction of a dam due to the dam operations. The conclusion for the event was that it happened due to the climatic conditions. So what I like to say is from the example that the dams were built for economic development, but it led to destruction and almost 400 crores loss for the government. And also with the rise of carbon emissions in the air, we have seen that the higher pace of melting of glaciers, which will wipe out the coastal area. And the solution to come up with this is sustainability. The higher pace of economy is when all the resources that are available are used in a sustainable manner. So a few of the solutions that we can come up with is from non-renewable resources, we can shift to renewable resources. A most recent survey that suggests that there are many cheaper ways for producing non-renewable resources that are coming up. And also the social cost pricing, that if economists think that there is an external cost for economic growth, then they should add taxes like carbon tax, which will help in the ecological development. And also the technological advancements, like all of us know, are the electric cars that are coming up, that is obvious in the place of petrol and diesel. There are many technological advances which will help us reduce the ecological damage that is happening. And in conclusion, I would like to say that we don't have to sacrifice our ecological environment for economic growth. Thank you.
Next, I would like to call Divya S. Chandran, who would be speaking for the motion.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Diya S. Chandran, and today I'll be speaking for the motion. Is economical growth much more important than ecological development? Now, market forces is what causes the increase in economical development, which leads to environmental improvements. So don't you think that these policies that can stimulate such growth be good for the environment too? Let me give you an example. Many of you must have heard about the FAME 2. That is an economical policy. The government has bought a strategy which reduces the vehicular emissions and decreases the dependency on the fossil fuels. Now let me ask you to look at it through another side. The pandemic that we faced, COVID-19, it literally ruined the human population. Like, many people died. But papers we read that because of the human inactivity, the environment flourished, the air quality increased, ozone itself started replenishing itself. But however, the humans, they suffered. The families lost their breadwinners, daily wage laborers. They found it very difficult to put one day meal onto their family's stomach. But this all was able to be coming into normalcy thanks to the vaccine. Now, how much time do you think does a vaccine take for creation? Easily 10 to 15 years? Well, we took just 1 to 2 years. Granted that it is still in its initial stages, but this happened because of the economic development. The money, the competition between the companies, all this is because of the economies. Hence, we can say that the vaccine was possible because of economy development and economy growth. This brings me to the other point, the innovation. Innovation and research need funding, which primarily comes from the economical growth of the country. Now let me take Dubai as an example. We all know that Dubai was a desert, but Dubai's GDP is skyrockets, like really good. Hence, they could this research and come up with technologies that will help them to thrive. That is desalination of seawater into drinking water. Hence, because of the economy growth, a deserted, uninhabited island, this land could become a literal thriving economy, an environment which can be protected now. Similarly, with Middle Eastern countries, they're rich, we all know that. Hence, now they can look at renewable resources to protect their environment. For example, our solar farms. Now, the environment right now doesn't really have much of the resources to help with the whole of population, because the population is a lot. Hence, it comes a far-fetched idea. Elon Musk, he is trying to populate Mars, colonize Mars, as we all know. Now, many of people must be thinking that's like far-fetched. It won't happen in any so years. But don't you think that the development that happened in the last 10 years is much more faster than what happened in the last 50 years? So maybe it'll be faster now. Because there are a few points. It's easy. People will be able to control the population. We'll get new resources. Hence comes to my last point. I'd like to conclude, like in my opinion, environment and ecology will go hand in hand. Okay? That is, environment cannot sustain without any economic growth to help it sustain. Whereas this economy cannot sustain without an environment. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Ram Kishore, who will be speaking for the motion.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm not much of a speaker, but I can tell stories. So, when this topic came, I thought, how can I make you relate to the story of my life? You know, there is one person in my life who I love, as well as, ignore so much or hate so much. That's my dad. You know why? Whenever I talk something to him, he goes back to his past. You know how we were in those days. How he cycled 10 kilometers to get water just for their daily necessities. And later it was my mom. She used to say that you have the privileges right now what you have, but we didn't even have a light. We studied under a night bulb. And later it was my grandfather. He used to work in a mill. He used to tell that he used to cycle 30 kilometers from his home just to go to work. And it was my grandmother. She'll be like, I was doing all the chores. I don't know when I get up, I don't know when I sleep, because at those times, there was no refrigerators or grinding machines and all. It used to take so much time. Fast forward to back where we are today, you can see how technology plays a role. Apart from that, let us look at about the natural disasters. In 1918, there was the Spanish flu. It affected 33% of the population and killed about 50 million people. There came cyclones, and in 1999, India had this cyclone in Odisha. It was a super cyclone. It was around 300 kilometer speed. That was the intensity of the cyclone. Fast forward to where we are today. We are efficient enough to predict what kind of cyclone arrives and how to protect the people. This is the stage we are right now. Apart from that, when we come into the main crux of how economic growth is more important, I would tell you that in 1950s, when we got independence, we were deprived of our basic rights, which was food. We didn't even have enough food in 1950s. We had to import food. That was a major crisis in India. In 1960s, they introduced something called as HYV seeds, high yielding variety seeds. And these seeds were the main reason that both you as well as me have plenty of rice today to eat. Our nutrition is good. Then the dress we wear, we don't have any malnutrition right now as much as it was supposed to be. This is where technology played a role. And apart from this, where I can make you relate through economic growth is that we can see Pepsi has these plastic bottles and all. This is a certain type of economic growth. In that stage, we can even see companies like Neiman. These companies recycle the plastics and make it into a show. And this happens when there is a change in the consumer behavior. This all happens through an economic activity. I've told you so many things, I'm not sure you remember so much, but apart from this, the Earth, it has a life expectancy of another 1.5 billion years. And any human, the two most important things are reproduction and survival. And if we actually depend only on Earth for the next 1.5 billion years, what after that? We won't have any other explorations. And just like how dinosaurs were killed 66 million years ago, the total human species would be vanished. And the climate change is not caused by economic growth. It is caused by bad public decisions and policies made by the lawmakers. You can see the conditions in Sri Lanka as well as, yeah, thank you.
I would now like to call Aishwarya Tivaskar, who would be speaking against the motion.
Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The hot topic for today is economic growth more important than ecological protection? Now let me begin with giving you some facts. What if I tell you that the coal industry contributes to 0.81% to the Indian GDP and also accounts for 55% of energy needs of the country, but at the cost of 80,000 to 1,15,000 lives every year. And this consumption is only projected to be increasing at an average annual rate of 3.9%. What if I tell you that the Indian courts uses 11 billion papers in a year? Yes, people, in a year, 11 billion papers at the cost of 1.3 million trees and 109 billion liters of water every year. Mind you, this is happening in a country where 6%, more than 6% people do not have access to clean water. What if I tell you that the current CO2 emission emission in the country is around 2.88 gigatons and is set to increase to a level of 4.87 by the end of 2030. This happening in a country where 1.6 million lives are lost every year due to bad air quality. This is not rhetoric. This is not hysterical. These are facts. And with these nerve-wracking facts, I, Aishwarya Tivaskar, am here to speak against the motion. Well, all these facts are just the tip of the iceberg. And it is hilarious. I'll tell you how. It is estimated that hundreds of species will go extinct by the end of the decade. I say the tip of the iceberg. This phrase itself will go extinct. Why? Because the earth loses 1.3 trillion eyes every year. Now you ask me, how is this affecting me? What has that got to do with me? Well, fair enough. Let me just tell you that the world is in a strict budget, just like every Indian household. And the budget is called carbon budget. The IPCC estimates that if we need to survive, we have to stay below 1.5 degree rise of temperature and we only have 400 gigatons of carbon emission allowed starting with the year 2020. Let me also tell you that we'll run out of this budget in just 9 years. Even if we try our best to reduce this by half, we just have 50% chances of living below 1.5 degree temperature rise. Well, 50% must be a very great number for my opponents, I'm sure, but not for me. Because I know that it will cost not only human lives, but hamper the whole ecosystem, which in turn will hamper the oh so precious economic growth that we are talking about, which is heavily dependent on natural and human resources. So guys, if you're still trying to sell me on the idea that economic growth is more important than ecological protection, well, I disagree. I refuse to accept, because in doing so, you are questioning the deaths of 3.6 million people who have been wiped off from the face of the earth due to bad air quality. You are questioning the death of 15 billion trees that are cut every day in the name of deforestation. Not just this, but many more in the name of economic development. So this is not a political matter, not a matter of money, but a matter of human survival. And we need to face it with courage and honesty. With this, I rest my case. Thank you.
I would now like to call David Palati, who would be speaking for the motion.
Hello? Hello? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Lewis Palati, and I'll be talking for the motion. Economic growth is more important than ecological development. It's quite an unpopular opinion, but I'll try my best to prove it to you. So, economic growth is defined as the increase in the production of goods and services of a country compared from one period to another. From this, what do we understand? It's actually quite simple. Because it's being compared from a period to another period, for real economic growth, that growth really has to be sustainable. So sustainable growth leads to true, real economic growth. An example for industries that follow such a principle are the tea industry, jute industry, and sugarcane industry of India, which has provided a significant contribution to the Indian GDP, and for many, many decades. These industries are eco-friendly, they have provided jobs to millions, and they have maintained the fertility of the land. I would now like to grab your attention to the COVID-19 pandemic that we are all facing right now. The death toll as of day before yesterday was 61.7 lakhs. A hard time for any nation, no doubt. This number only gets added to when we add the indirect deaths caused due to the pandemic, due to various reasons like lack of shelter, lack of unemployment, and lack of employment, lack of shelter, and lack of resources. I would like to ask you all one question. What do you think would happen to that number if the vaccine industry did not enter into the picture? What do you think would happen to that number if the Indian economy was weak? My friends, it's time we think practically. Let's take a look at Sri Lanka for an example. Sri Lanka, a country neighboring India, currently facing a severe economic crisis. The people of Sri Lanka neither have food nor fuel, and they are all living in a state of civil unrest. And all of this has been caused due to poor economic planning. Ecological protection is important. After all, we have not inherited this land from our fathers, but have borrowed it from our children. And it is a right of every child to be born into a world that is bountiful. My friends, the problems of today have to be solved today. And the technology and resources required to bring back the earth to its former self requires a lot of money. And that's why economic growth should be the need of the hour. I believe that India can spearhead this change and be a role model to the other countries who are willing to save the planet. India, in the 26th Conference of Parties, had made commendable goals. And our Prime Minister's 5-point strategy called the Panchamitra is just the beginning of such a change. I would like to conclude by saying that economic growth of a country should be its priority, but it should never be placed above a country's natural vegetation. As any growth we achieve by harming the ecological balance is actually a threat to the nation. And only a well economically grown country will be able to protect its ecology to the fullest. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Next, I would like to call R. Rishita on stage, who will be speaking against the motion.
A nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. What is the use of a fine house if you do not have a tolerable planet to put it on? A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I stand here today to present my argument against the motion, economic growth is more important than ecological protection. Economic growth is defined as an increase in the production of goods and services over a period of time. As an economy grows, the demand for goods and services also increase, leading to an increase in the production and consumption of raw materials and energy. With the increase in consumption of energy, the emissions also increase. And in fact, energy consumption is one of the biggest biggest contributors to emissions around the world. Not only do they require a lot of energy and not only do they require so it is believed that as an economy grows, it achieves stability only when it moves from being a agriculture-based economy to then an industrial-based economy and then to a service-based economy. But it is not just the economic growth that is prompted by the industries that leads to detrimental effects on the environment, but also service sector contributes a lot to the emissions and causes a lot of damage as well, which is often overlooked The world is slowly shifting from being a from being a manufacturer of products to being a manufacturer of digital products. If you look at some statistics, the emissions caused by viewing a web page for 1 second is around 0.02 grams of carbon dioxide, and the emission and a regular email would claim a carbon footprint of around 4 grams, while that of a email with an attachment around 50 grams. And the the emissions estimated to be produced in the manufacturing and running of digital technologies all around the world are around 1.7 billion tons per year, which means each one of us has a responsibility of around 414 kilograms of carbon dioxide every year. The fourth National Climate Assessment has in its recent report has mentioned that regional industries and economies that highly depend on natural resources and favorable climate conditions has mentioned that these economies are growing extremely vulnerable to the climate change every day. And if you look at the recent forest fires in California, they have destroyed around 10,000 structures and has caused around a damage of 12 billion. Similarly, there are a lot of climate consequences. With this, I rest my case. Thank you.
Last speaker for the day is Ms. Gaurangi Srivastava, who would be speaking against the motion.
Am I audible? When the last tree has been cut, when the last river has been dried up and has been poisoned, when the last fish has been consumed, probably that is when we will realize that ecology is more important than economy and we cannot eat money. A warm good afternoon to everyone present here. My name is Gaurangi and I stand here with 100% conviction to speak against the motion. Let me start by giving you a small example. Just yesterday, I was the part of a business plan competition and I was asked to pitch a plan for moving to Mars, for making Mars habitable for humans. So serious is the condition of this planet that we have already started to plan a life on the other planet. This is the situation where economy and ecology cannot be compared. Now, economic development must look like something which is extremely important because it promises higher GDP, better standard of living, better rates of interest, everything in a better situation. But it looks good only on paper. To realize this fact in real life, we must know that there has been a 3.75 trillion cost to the environment when economic growth is taking place. At the same time, we are all business students sitting here and we all know that economy and ecology have to go hand in hand. We have suffered a loss of 5.7% in the Indian GDP to recover the environmental degradation losses. At the same time, we do read about Keynesian economics, which talks about land being a resource and the resources that are required to lead to economic growth. In a situation like this, there is a law that is operating, the law of decreasing or diminishing marginal returns. In a situation like this, we need to realize that the resources are very limited. At the same time, there is a day called the overshoot day, on which the budget of the resources for the year comes down, and according to that, we cannot use more resources after that. This day was on 22nd of August in 2020 and on 21st of July in 2021. So we are just keeping on depleting the resources without even thinking of the consequence. Is there a solution or is there everything dark? Well, there is a solution. I'm sure I'm sitting in a room full of tomorrow's business leaders, and I have to make this point that if we keep ecology at the center, economy at the periphery, and use technology to drive it forward, we will be able to achieve it. For example, in case of United States of America, the amount of carbon dioxide that was required to produce $1 was 0.94 kilograms in 1960. Now it's 0.34 kilograms, a 60% decrease. Same has been the case with China, a 75% decrease. And same will be the case with every developing country if we make sure that we produce more and pollute less. And the same can be achieved only when there is technical advancement. If there is technical advancement, if we are able to help the ecology, we'll definitely be able to create more jobs to help the economy, and this will go hand in hand. Ecology and economy are not two different things. They are two sides of the same coin. And I think in this room full of engineers, full of business leaders, we need to make sure that we protect the environment so that tomorrow, no child in the United Nations press conference can ask us, how dare we? How dare we have the dreams of economic growth when people are suffering, people are dying, and people are facing extinction? With this, I rest my case. And if you still have doubts, try counting your money with your breath hold. Thank you.
Well, the decisions and deliberations will be extremely challenging. I would now like to request the judges to be escorted to the VIP guest house to ponder upon the decision. While the judge... Okay. While the judges mull over some very difficult choices, dearest audience, we have got you covered. We welcome the Cultural Club of XIMERA Bangalore to keep us from biting our nails about the final decision.
Check, check. Check, check.
Hello.
Check, check.
Hello, hello.
Check, check.
Yeah. Hello, hello, hello.
For all the times that you rain my parade, and all the clubs you get in using my name. You think you broke my heart, oh girl, for goodness sake. You think I'm crying on my own, well I ain't. Cause I didn't wanna write a song, cause I didn't want anyone thinking I still care, I don't. But you still hit my phone up, and baby I'll be moving on. And I think you should be something I don't wanna hold back. Maybe you should know that my mama don't like you, she likes everyone. And I never liked you, admit that I was wrong. And I've been so caught up in my job, didn't see what's going on, and now I know I'm better sleeping on my own. Cause if you like the way you look that much, oh baby you should go and love yourself. And if you think that I'm still holding on to something, you should go and love yourself.
Loving can hurt. Loving can hurt sometimes, but it's the only thing that I know. When it gets hard, you know it can get hard sometimes. It is the only thing that makes us feel alive. We keep this love in a photograph. We made these memories for ourselves, where our eyes never closing, hearts never broken, time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me close until your eyes meet. You won't ever be alone. Wait for me to come home. Loving can heal. Loving can mend your soul. It is the only thing that I know. I swear it will get easier. Remember that with every piece of you. It is the only thing we take with us when we die. We keep this love in a photograph. We made these memories for ourselves, where our eyes never closing, hearts never broken, time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me close until your eyes meet. You won't ever be alone. Wait for me to come home.
Well, you only need the light when it's burning low. Only need the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Standing at the bottom of your glass, hoping one day you'll make a dream last. 'Cause dreams come slow and it goes so fast. Well, you see her when you look into your eyes. Maybe one day you'll understand why. 'Cause everything you touch surely dies. Yeah. Well, you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you're being high when you're feeling low. Only miss the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. And you let her go.
I'm gonna make a change for once in my life. It's gonna feel real good, gonna make a difference, gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? A summer's disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change.
I found love for me, darling, just dive right in, follow my lead. Well, I found a girl beautiful and sweet. Oh, I never knew you were the someone waiting for me. 'Cause we were just kids when we fell in love, not knowing what it was. Oh, I will not give you up this time. Darling, just kiss me slow. Your heart is all I own, and in your eyes you're holding mine. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, and barefoot on the grass, listening to our favorite song. That's me. I whispered underneath my breath. You heard it, darling. You look perfect tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Need to put the microphone over there.
Hello.
Hello.
जन्म 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 साथ चलना यूं ही, कसम तुम्हें कसम आके मिलना यूं ही। एक जा है भरे दो बदन हो जुदा, मेरी होके हमेशा ही रहना, कभी ना कहना अलविदा। मेरी सुबह हो तुम ही और तुम ही शाम हो, तुम दर्द हो तुम ही आराम हो। मेरी दुआओं से आती है बस ये सदा, मेरी होके हमेशा ही रहना, कभी ना कहना अलविदा।
मेरी बाहों में है मेरे दोनों जहां, तू रहे जिधर मेरी जन्नत वही। जल रही अगर है जो ये दो तरफा, ना बुझे कभी मेरी मन्नत यही। तू मेरी आरज़ू, तू मेरी आशिकी, तू मेरी आयरी, मैं तेरी मौसीकी।
तलब 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 बस तेरी है मुझे, नशों में तुम नशा बन के गुलना यही। मेरी मोहब्बत का करना तू हक ये अदा, मेरी होके हमेशा ही रहना, कभी ना कहना अलविदा।
छुटे या न छुटे मुझसे रंग तेरा डोलना, एक तेरे बाजू दूजा मेरा कोई मोल ना, बोलना माही बोलना, बोलना माही बोलना।
तेरे लिए आया मैं तो तेरे संग जाना, डोलना मैं तेरे नाल जिंदड़ी बितावा, कदी नहीं तोड़ना इश्क दी डोरना, सारे छड़ जाए माही तू ना छोड़ना, बोलना माही बोलना, बोलना माही बोलना।
जिंदगी ने की है कैसी साजिशें, पूरी हुई दिल की वो फरमाइशें, मांगी दुआएं तुझ तक जा पहुंची ओ परवरदिगारा, कैसी सुनी तूने मेरी खामोशी ओ परवरदिगारा। ये फितूर मेरा लाया मुझको है तेरे करीब, ये फितूर तेरा परवरदिगारा।
मुझको इरादे दे उसमें दे वादे दे, मेरी दुआओं के इशारों को सहारे दे, दिल को ठिकाने दे, नए बहाने दे, ख्वाबों की बारिशों को मौसम के पैमाने दे, अपने करम की करदाए कर दे इधर भी तू निगाहें, सुन रहा है ना तू, रो रहा हूँ मैं, सुन रहा है ना तू, क्यों रो रहा हूँ मैं, सुन रहा है ना तू, रो रहा हूँ मैं, सुन रहा है ना तू, क्यों रो रहा हूँ मैं।
खो गया गुम हो गया, वक्त से चुराया था जो अपना बनाया था, वो तेरा वो मेरा साथ निभाया था जो अपना बनाया था। चदरिया झीनी रे झीनी,
चदरिया झीनी रे झीनी,
आंखें भीनी ये भीनी ये भीनी, याद झीनी रे झीनी रे झीनी,
चदरिया झीनी रे झीनी, तेनू इतना मैं प्यार करा, एक पल विच 100 बार करा, तू जावे जे मैनू छड़ के, मौत दा इंतजार करा, कि तेरे लिए दुनिया छोड़ दी है, तुझ पे ही सांस आके रुके, मैं तुझको कितना चाहता हूँ ये तू कभी सोच ना सके, कि तेरे लिए दुनिया छोड़ दी है, तुझ पे ही सांस आके रुके, मैं तुझको कितना चाहता हूँ ये तू कभी सोच ना सके। कुछ भी नहीं है ये जहां, अब मुझको जाना है कहाँ, तू ही सफर है आखिरी, कि तेरी और मुझको लेके चले ये दुनिया भर के सब रास्ते। मैं तुझको कितना चाहता हूँ ये तू कभी सोच ना सके, कि तेरे लिए दुनिया छोड़ दी है, तुझे पे ही सांस आके रुके। मैं तुझको कितना चाहता हूँ ये तू कभी सोच ना सके। थैंक यू एवरीवन, थैंक यू।
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Foundation Day. I am Aparna from Batch 27, XIME Bangalore, and I will be your MC for this event. I will also be joined by Ms. Anandita Chaudhary. Today marks a special day. It is a day that is significant to each and every one of us here in the XIME family. Today is Maria Phillips' birthday. She is the late daughter of Professor J. Phillip and passed away in a tragic accident on the 30th of September 1986. We welcome the founder of XIME and the chairman of XIME Bangalore, Professor J. Phillip, chairman of XIME Kochi, Ambassador C.P. Ravindranathan, and director of XIME Bangalore, Dr. M. Nelayappan. It is our pleasure to introduce to you our chief guest, Ms. Sheenam Ori, CEO, Broadridge. We welcome the Dean Academics, Professor Madhukumar, faculty, guests, and students. It was Maria's dream and aspiration to build a model management school in India. While she never lived to see her goals realized, her loving father, Professor J. Phillip, fulfilled his daughter's dream in May 1991. Through its 27-year legacy, XIME has empowered and shaped scores of leaders, minds, and personalities from across India. Every year on Foundation Day, we celebrate the unforgettable legacy of a visionary, an inspiration, and a name we forever look up to, Maria Phillip. I would now like to request our beloved founder chairman, Professor J. Phillip, to address this august gathering.
Now, where are you, MC? The other one who just spoke? Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that you did everything I had to do. Wonderful. Thank you very much. It was great. I don't know whether you noticed something, some revolution that happened quietly here. So let me link up with our past. When we started the first year, we had 42% girls, which reached up to 56% 3 years ago. Today I counted sitting there the girls who spoke. Out of the 11, 7 were girls and 4 boys. But that is not all. The revolution is what happened today. The 4 judges are all women. The chief guest is women. A total lady house today. That's special about this year. Welcome, Seenam. Welcome. Such a great thing that we could have you. Seenam, Ori, Alok Ori are very dear friends of ours. I'm sure she'll be introduced. She's a good friend of the president. That's how she's here. But she's one of the finest leaders of the country as CEOs, and more I am sure will be coming later. As this young lady has said, this is a day for the family. This family. The family foundation day is always celebrated by the family together. And you have done a wonderful job today. It's all decked up and beautified and brightened up. And last night the lights around here, lovely. And I want to thank all of you for brightening up the place, cheering up the place, and all of you so cheerful, so lively, so full of life. Congratulations. Thank you. I thought the judges had come. No, not yet, is it? Oh, it's a big task, huh? The 11 girls and boys are given them a big task, I see. Right, something's very special. When these 11 people came up, I looked at the names. And I said, the beautiful thing about XIME is a diversity. The whole of India is here. Shinam, that's something very, very special about this place. You want to see somebody from Jammu, you will have it here. Somebody from Manipur, you will have it here. Somebody from Assam, yes. Somebody from Rajasthan, have it here. That is, so it is mini India. And that was a policy because we also are people who lived all over the country. So to me, when I came to Bangalore for the first time, it was totally strange, although I'm from Kerala and South India. But the first time I was coming to South India. So to me, to all of us, the whole family, we are pan-Indian, so that's reflected in the composition of this institution. So that was one which I thought I would like to specially mention, and we should be proud of that. That this is, we will keep that way. This is in a way mini India. That is one. The second point is in our value system. It's in the list on integrity. Somebody asked me recently in Cochin, look, how did you build all these institutions? There are 3 of them, and one beating the other, one better than the other. I said, build it up, manage the finances well. But then he asked me, do you have a loan from the bank? I said, no loan, no loan at all. So how did you build all these things? I said, I don't know, I just manage it. Now, but I tell you one thing, we struggled in the first few years. I cannot describe how difficult it was. But we made sure that we never had one pie coming here, which is not as per integrity or as per ethics. Never we had a system of an admission which was incorrect. We never admitted a boy or a girl who did not come through merit. Integrity is part of the life of this place. We struggled at the beginning, but we want, this is another one we want to communicate. You as future managers, this must be part of you. You must carry it wherever you go, and people admire you. That's based on this question which I received in question as to you manage it, because there are a few other institutions comparable to us who had big loans, some One institution has 60 crores of loan, another institution has 100 crores of loan, and we have nothing, and we built 2 extra campuses in Chennai and Kochi, which are beautiful. A third one about which I am, when the youngsters came up to speak, I was reminded of a tradition which we built up. I would be unabashed in saying that I carried this from XLRI. It's an XLRI tradition. I spent 13 years there, my formative years. I grew up there. It's part of that place. And that was development of skills, which including the speaking skill, which is very, very important. When you talk about leadership, tell you there is no way one can develop that without strong communication skills. And likewise, I appeared on a webinar just 2 days ago, Indian Express, Financial Express webinar on this, that is called Education Summit. So I was one of the participants. And this online communication, online education came. And in my final comment I said, look, education's definition, one definition is behavioral change. Now that's one of the finest definitions of education, behavioral change. And another definition would be, from our context, development, right? So I said one of the problems of this online business is that you can pass on knowledge, you can pass on information, but you can never give skills and values which are very important. So I said it's a poor substitute. And so looked at our record. So one of the visitors said, oh, you had a lot of offline classes. I said, yes, we would be perhaps the very best in the country in terms of offline education. I mean, I don't like that expression offline, which actually has the opposite of what is meant to be offline. We call it physical. Now, because we strongly believe only through physical education you can develop these two aspects. And XIME is proud of that skill development. Yesterday we had one of our former deans here, and we are looking back at our immediate past, and we came up to a girl. Her name was Gina George, outstanding girl. And so I asked him about Gina George because he knew her, and said, oh yeah, he changed so much. She's a big singer, and she's a big developer of dramas and films and all the kind of things. But I remembered her as the one who brought to us the biggest credit award score for XIME in 2014. Gina George, another girl, at the IMA competition in Delhi, where they announced what is called the Champions of India. So they call the winners. It's a national competition. South, North, East, West participate, and they pick up the very best to the team as the Champions of India. So in 2014, this girl and her colleague brought up that award, that placard for us as the Champions of India. So we're really big that. And then I said, not only 2014, 2018, not only we won the first prize, we won the second prize too, which no other institution ever had won nationally. Both, remember, this is also against the IIMs and the XLRI and the MDI and the SPJ and all the kind of institutions, that to win both the prizes, the first and the second of India, champions and the second champions of India, was a great record. 2018. 2019, we missed it. But, as I said, it's a regional conference, South, North, East, West. In the South competition, all the three prizes, first, second, and third, Zyme won. All the three prizes South. I said that only to bring that point again. This is one of the aspects, the issues that we concentrate upon. Our students have to be strongly on skill when they go out as managers. So that and 19 and 20 and 21, of course, was COVID years. Now we are only going to have the new normal year, and I hope we will perform well. The message, somebody said, okay, wouldn't you have a message on that? I said, no, I give messages all the time. What is so special about the message that I should have? In leadership, you have studied, all of you have. If you go back to that 5 big traits, the 5 big B's, the 2 of them stand out. One is agreeableness. Agreeableness means be decent. Decent. These are taken from the 5 universally agreed traits of leadership. That you must be, no matter where you go, people should be. I always quote that book, famous book. You can always tell a Harvard man. Now, I'm proud of that because I happened to go there for a little while. You can always tell a Harvard man. So no matter where you go, this is something which people say, hey, that boy, that girl is quite different. That comes out that powerful word, agreeableness. There is another thing from the leadership list itself of the 5 is conscientiousness. Now this is very true in industry. Now, what is it that my boss will value in me? If the boss thinks I am conscientious, we leave it to him, he will do it. I is conscientious about it. Now that is the second one. Today on this Foundation Day, I'll share with you something which I valued all my life, which I would like you to carry with you when you go, whenever you go, wherever you are. 2 things I said: agreeableness, conscientiousness. Good wishes for the Foundation Day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. It gives me immense pleasure today to introduce to you our chief guest, Ms. Sheenam Ori. She is the Managing Director of Broadridge, a global fintech company. Currently based in Bangalore, Sheenam has more than 25 years of experience in various aspects of global delivery, product management, testing, and leadership roles. Experienced in information risk management, Sheenam applies systematic and broad business perspectives to IT programs. She has expertise in multicultural global team building, strong networking, partner relationship management, and team motivation. As a diversity and inclusion evangelist, Sheenam recognizes the value of being a respected leader in the industry and impacting change for the better. She is the company sponsor for gender diversity, in addition to serving as the chairperson for key employee resource groups. She has worked to institutionalize several cross-functional programs for recruitment and retention, with development opportunities for female team members, formalized mentorships, training, and support for external initiatives as well. Sheenam has been awarded with several accolades in her career, such as the Next Generation Women Leader at Zenov 2020 conference, and has been recognized as one of the top 20 women catalysts in Indian IT by SME Channels 2019. As a part of the Foundation Day celebrations this year, we have a unique twist on our traditional approach. We will be conducting an exciting fireside chat with our esteemed chief guest, Ms. Sheenam Ori. Ma'am, can I please request you to move towards the dais? This session will be conducted by 3 student representatives. Yeah. Miss Maria Joseph, a very graceful dancer. Mr. Andrew Chaco, the tech whiz. And Miss Amrita Tripathi, a very eloquent orator. With every one of us embarking on a new journey the next couple of months, we hope to learn from you, Sheenam ma'am, the key elements of leadership and success, with the hope that one day we can be one step closer to being a trailblazer just like you.
So, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
First of all, welcome to XIME.
Thank you.
And we are so honored to have you join us today with us. It is an immense pleasure that we have gotten this opportunity to have this fire chat with you. So, we'll start off today's session by asking you a question related to leadership.
Okay.
So much has been written about leadership. So much has been spoken about what number of characteristics a leader must have. So, ma'am, how would you define leadership? How would you say what leadership is about?
And I think Philip sir has already covered a lot of it. Let me start off with those two, right? What does agreeable mean, right? When you enter the corporate world, you're going to hear a lot of words around collaboration. You're going to hear, why collaboration is important. And let me articulate a little bit to you. What does that mean? Collaboration and being agreeable does not mean that you have to agree to everything that people around you are saying. It means that you have to take consent to be to voice an opinion which is different, but you have to have the strength of conviction in your ideas to be able to say, yes, this is what I feel and these are the reasons why. The conversation has to be lined with respect, right? And that's very, very important. So that, I think, really is the first principle of leadership. The second one that Doctor talked about was really to be conscientious. Conscientious in the corporate world really means dependable, right? If I sign up to something and I say I will do it, I will, right? And that is really, really key for your integrity to be established as a professional in any environment that you are in. If you are not able to, telling people at the last minute doesn't make sense, right? How do you come back and tell people in advance, these are the issues that I'm facing? Because there will be times you will not be able to do it. So how are you creating an image of being dependable is really, really key to that. Let me build a little bit more on that, right? A good leader is curious. A good leader never stops learning, right? A lot of us, I have a 25-year-old son, so I know the feeling, right? A lot of you will start to think, I'm done with learning. No. Learning never stops, right? Even at my age. There's immense amount of transformation happening around us, immense amount of change that is happening around us. So learning is really key to that. With that, I'm going to add unlearning. Right? When I started off in 1992, the models of software development, and I come from an IT field, models of software development were very different. Today, they are absolutely far away from where they were when I started off. Everybody was very comfortable doing an 18-month release. Today, people are not happy with a 2-week release, right? So things have changed. If I don't unlearn, I'll never be relevant for today. So that's, I think, another portion of the learning piece. The last piece would be, how are you creating and building a legacy? Which essentially means, are you developing people around you as leaders too? And are you really taking people around you? I was here and I was watching the performance of the 3 gentlemen, and then later on there were the 2 gentlemen. At times they forgot the lyrics, but they continued, and there was this support from the other person that it's okay, right? I'm here supporting you. Those, I think, are the key traits that you should take from your environment today. to, you know, the next stage, the next phase of your life. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Now that you spoke about unlearning, I feel, especially after COVID, unlearning has become very important. We had to unlearn certain things that were the old way of studying, and we had to adapt to this new technology. I think those points were quite valid about leadership.
Sure. COVID has taught us a lot of things, right?
Definitely.
We've heard this term new normal, I don't know how many times in the last 2 years. But I think that set apart, it has taught us how we can live differently, right, from what we live together. On a very lighter note, Alok and I had possibly never spent a full week together ever after we got married under the same roof, right? And sometime in May of 2020, my niece wrote to us. She said, "You both have been together for 3 months." And we thought, you know, it was going to get over, and then it lasted for 2 years. So there is a pro and a con to COVID, and that is what I would invite you to think about any situation, right? We enjoyed that time. We enjoyed the fact that we could have lunch together. We enjoyed the fact that we had so much more time because we were not traveling, and, you know, we were not commuting to work with each other. We could develop hobbies that we had never ever thought we could. It gave us that opportunity. What we missed was this, right? Meeting people, interactions, building those social connections, which are also equally important. Going back to office today is also a pleasure. So really we have to get to what is the right amount of balance.
Going back to the first question, since we are on the topic of leadership, you've mentioned in one of your past interviews, which I heard, that being a catalytic thinker and a change agent, both are some of your strengths. So would you say those are a must in a leader in today's world? What is your opinion on that?
So these are big words, okay, but I think at the core of it, are you, and sir mentioned this, right? Are you thinking big? And what does big mean, right? As people who will enter a professional environment, you will see a lot of things in corporate world that does not resonate with you, right? That does not appeal. Now you will have 3 choices. One is do nothing about it, say this is the way it happens, shut up and live with it. Become the cynic that possibly there are lots of people like you around you. The second choice would be to say, I don't like this environment, let me go out and find myself another environment that I like. Having lived in 4 or 5 companies over the last almost 3 decades, I'm going to tell you, there isn't a single environment that you'll really like. Okay, there is no perfect world in the world. The third one is, can you influence? Can you change your environment? Can you make a difference? Can you say, I don't like what I see, and that's the most important thing. Here is what I think we should be doing. A lot of people will tell you, I don't like it, but if they don't tell you how to change it, they are not leaders. Okay? And I sincerely believe that somebody who's just entered the office environment is a leader if he or she is driving that change for a better future. To me, catalytic thinking, change agent, is all about how can our future be better than today. Tomorrow has to be better than today. And if you are leading that, you are a leader.
Another word that came to my mind when I was reading about you was you used the word servant leadership. Can you elaborate in brief about that?
Servant leadership, and I mentioned that a little while ago also, to me is all about, are you hogging the limelight, or are you allowing your team to do that? I recently read a book by Simon Sinek, and I would invite all of you to read that. It's called Leaders Eat Last. That's really the definition of servant leadership. Just to put it in very simple words, are you somebody who needs to be in the epicenter of attention, or are you somebody who's very comfortable in your team leading that? And as a servant leader, if you are allowing your team to take credit for the successes and standing in front when there is a failure, I think that defines in a very nutshell what a servant leadership is, a servant leader is all about.
So, ma'am, you talked about having convictions of your own, standing out, talking for what you feel is right and wrong in the corporate world. So, that brings the question whether we need a mentor in the corporate world. So, in one of your interviews, you had mentioned how your dad or your father was your best support and mentor. Many of us have not had a chance like that. So, what do you think we should look for in a mentor?
Very good question. So there are three types of roles that will affect you in life, in corporate life, right? One is a mentor, one is a coach, and the last one is a sponsor. And I call out three of them. They could be, a sponsor can be the other two, but a mentor need not be a sponsor. Who's a mentor? A mentor is somebody who has treaded the path that you want to tread, has the experience, and can help you get rid of some of the roadblocks that you have through the experience that she or he carries, right? The way to go out and enlist a mentor is to figure out what are your mentorship goals and what is it that you want to achieve. It could be as simple as, I want to communicate better, I want to stand on stage and be a better orator, to I want to learn Java, or I want to learn this particular management model a little bit better. So it could range from all kinds of topics, and basically whatever stage of life you are, you should have at least a couple of mentors across, right? And the way I would do this is, I would say, okay, I need to enhance my industry connect. I've just taken on the role of the CEO for Broadridge Financials, and in that role, I think my industry connect and my networking with people in the same position across the industry has to improve. This is a very new domain for me. I have to improve my domain knowledge. So those two are very good key examples of mentorship goals that I have right now for myself, right? What's a coach? A coach is somebody who necessarily does not have experience on the path that you're treading. But a coach is somebody who will ask you a lot of questions and get your mind to open up, right? For you to realize what the right answer is and come down to the conclusions that you need to do. A coach is somebody that I believe you will need after 4-5 years of entering professional life and corporate life, and just to guide you. Those will be more issues on, I don't understand how to navigate these kind of conversations. That's when you need a coach. You don't need a mentor. Then a sponsor is somebody who has a seat on the table. You can't be everywhere. You can't know everybody, right? But a sponsor is a person who likes you, who knows your strengths and weaknesses, and has a seat on the table. It's important that you have all three in your career at different stages, right? So that's something that I would leave you with.
Thank you, ma'am. That was wonderful. On this note, in the corporate world now, we have a lot of mentor-mentee programs, right?
Yes.
So what do you think is lacking in the today's mentor-mentee programs that we have?
So I think one of the things that I see as failure points for programs not to be successful is a comment from both the mentor and the mentee, right? You would enlist into a program and you would be, you would either go out and find yourself a mentor or be assigned a mentor depending on your mentorship goals. That relationship may not work. They may not have chemistry to that relationship. My advice would be to go out and say, this is not working, right? What people generally will do is they will stop, they will start to cancel out the meetings. they would not make the time, they would not go on with that relationship because they're not seeing value. Typically, that's what happens, right? Call it off and say it's not important, right? And if there are a lot of programs that you will have in which you would be like a part of a group, a mentor connect program where there would be one mentor and you would be 4 or 5 people. Okay, if you are not able to make the time, okay, drop from the program. It's not as critical as others think it should be, drop out of the program. A lot of companies today have reverse mentoring programs, right? People like us who have spent 3 decades almost in the industry really don't know how to lead you, right? Your value systems are absolutely same as our value systems, but the way you approach life is very different from the way we approach life, right? The preferences, the priorities are different, and it's important that the people who are leading you and managing you understand that, right? So enlist in reverse mentoring programs, give back. Those are the kind of things that will make things very valuable. That would be my 2 cents around that.
Thank you, ma'am.
So you were talking about a shift in the current workforce. My next question is, you've seen in this world and specifically in India, the previous world which was characterized by stability and balance in your work. Now, as we know it, it is a fast-paced, it's a VUCA world. It's a volatile, uncomfortable, uncertain, complex and ambiguous work. How did you manage throughout your 30-year work experience, how did you manage to stay on top of your game?
So, I would tend to disagree that it is an unstable world out there and there is a lot of ambiguity. Okay, sorry. So I would tend to disagree that it's an unstable world and it is all the time ambiguous, right? Work generally will get bucketed into 2 aspects. One would be running the business, which is really the stability, the balance, ensuring that things don't fail, your customers are happy with the deliveries, experiences are good. The second part is really the transformation of the way you're working. Are you introducing the right amount of personalizations for your customers? Are you ensuring that you're making things simpler for your customers? Are you ensuring that your developers, your engineers, your associates, your colleagues are going through experiences that are far more superior than their predecessors and the competition, right? So that's really the transformation work. That balance is very critical, right? And how do you start to make this running in a fashion that is more automated, the run the business, and start to focus more on the transformation is very, very critical, okay? What happens typically, I'm sure in your models you would have seen the entire thing around important versus urgent, okay? Urgent kind of tends to fill your day, tends to fill your calendar. If you are able to move your urgent into the run the business through either automating or simplifying the processes and stuff like that, then you will have a lot of time to figure out what is the important and go deliver the important. One of the things that I do is once a month I spend at least 2 hours with myself, nobody else, just myself, and I ask myself, what did I achieve this month, right? What did I carve out from my time that was different, that created an impact? And there have been times when it has been very uncomfortable because the answer is nothing, really, right? So then you go back and say, okay, how is it that you're spending your time? What is it that you're doing? And how can you really carve out that time for doing things that are future building, like Sir said, thinking big and driving those big things, right? That's very, very critical. The most simplest tool that I have used is really calendarize 4 hours doing nothing. Like nobody can interrupt me. I switch my mailbox off. I just sit down and do some whiteboarding with a colleague or a couple of colleagues. That's it, right? So these will be different tools you will start to explore, and each person will have a very different way of kind of making that happen for herself or himself.
So, talking about balance and all the time management that you talked about, in one of your interviews, you had mentioned how work is just a part of life, and that a strict balance between work and life is not actually necessary, and one should do what generates happiness. So, according to you, ma'am, is work-life balance not essential in an era where its importance is being so widely discussed and debated upon?
You guys have done your research, I must tell you that.
Yes.
So here's what I seriously and completely believe, right? Life is all about happiness, right? So the balance is about generating that happiness. If work is giving you happiness, do more of it. If being at home, being a daughter, being a mother, being a father, being a son, being a friend is giving you more happiness, do more of that, right? There have been times in life when the child has been unwell, or the child just doesn't want you to go to work, and that is more critical than what's happening at work. You let go of work that day, right? There have been times when you have to catch a flight and the child says, I have a very bad cold coming up. You have to take on to that flight. You don't have a choice at that point in time. So work takes precedence, right? Life will present you with some very uncomfortable choices as you go on, right? And those choices will really be yours. Till now, most of the choices have been made by your parents, right? How much is your pocket money? How much money can you spend? Right? When you start to earn, the choice to spend or to save, choice to borrow from the previous, from the next month, or not to, which weekend you want to go out, not go out, all of that would be left to you, right? The choice to spend those extra 4 hours at work or to go for a drink with a friend would be yours, really yours. Decide on what is generating more happiness, and don't be guilty about it, okay? Because both will be important, one will be slightly more important than the others. But make that choice, do what is critical for you. That's when you'll be happy, and that's where you'll have balance. Work, in my opinion, and this is something that I have maintained through and through, is a part of life. It's not work in life, right? You're not going and doing a job somewhere. You're doing it because it gives you happiness. If you are not getting happiness, go find something else that gives you happiness. That would be my 2 cents around it.
Thank you, ma'am.
So ma'am, like you're talking about choice, I think all of us need to understand that life is all about the choices that we make. And for us future managers, it's very important that we keep in mind that no matter what kind of choice we make, we need to understand that it's what we are doing for ourselves, and we shouldn't regret. Thank you for that part. So coming to the next question that I have, you talked something about like you recently shifted to a new domain, and you need to have a lot of new skills for it. And throughout your career, you have been involved in technology, in finance, and also in recruitment and retention. So ma'am, how did you keep yourself abreast with so many different kind of skills that are required to perform successfully in all these different roles? What kind of skills did you had to learn, and what kind of skills can we learn to be better future managers?
So I think life will give you opportunities, right, as to what is it that you want to learn and what is relevant to you at that point of time. And you will have to pick that up. I have always believed technology skills are the easiest to pick up. Like learning one programming language over the other is generally the simplest thing that you can learn. The most difficult things are the things to do with people, the things to do with influencing culture, and really change at that level, right? And those are not things that you will be taught in classrooms. You'll have to imbibe them. You'll have to read about it. You'll have to learn from the best around you, right? And sometimes you'll also have to learn from what you didn't like, right? So keep your eyes and ears open. That would be my 2 cents. One of the things that I do is I'm a voracious reader. Okay, so my travel is generally books around me. So even if I'm like traveling to Hyderabad, which I'm doing quite a bit, I'm reading in the aircraft. So that's something that I do. On a daily basis, I really don't get the opportunity to read books. It's not possible. But I ensure that I do at least 10 minutes of some relevant reading on the net. The advantage that you guys have over us, where, you know, we had to go to a physical library and, you know, do a lot of things. You have a lot of things available now just on a LinkedIn, on you know, doing some Google and understanding some things. You will hear words, you will hear phrases, you will hear some terms that are not known to you, okay, during the course of the day. Make a note of it, at least at the end of the day before sleeping. Find out what they meant and what is their applicability to you. That by itself is a great learning tool that I do every day. And if somebody says something in English also that I did not understand, or was a new word for me, I would write it down and I would go and research about it and say, okay, how can I use it next time I'm doing something? So I do that. I make a lot of notes while I'm, you know, during the course of the day. Just before logging off, right, I'll go out and see whether there is something that I need to learn and become a little better. The other thing that I want to do and I'm not very good at is really writing. When I've written, I've figured out that I do a lot of research myself and therefore learn. Expression of thought is a learning opportunity. It's a huge learning opportunity. So see how you can indulge in that, right? Why do people do things like that? Because when you come here, you know, you'll ask me some questions, a thought will get triggered in my mind. I'll go and apply that in my next conversation or my next transaction. To me, it's a huge learning opportunity also, right? So both, you know, giving and taking are important in the learning process.
So, like you mentioned, having those technical skills, learning those technical skills is not that tough, but learning those people skills is tough. So would you say, ma'am, having EQ, high on EQ, it is one part of leadership. Is a leader considered a good leader if he or she has is high on EQ?
So in my world, right, we've moved away from EQ and leadership. EQ is something that everybody needs to have. Okay, we've started to do recruitment in technology not through tests but through hackathons. And in a hackathon, what is happening in 4 hours of a hackathon? You're actually not solving for a problem. It's how you're solving for the problem, how you're talking to people, okay? How are you being a part of the team? How are you contributing? When are you leading? When are you taking that back step? Okay, when are you allowing your team to win over you? All of that is EQ, okay? So we started hiring for EQ, right? So it's not like you completed 5 years in your career, now you should have high EQ. You started hiring for EQ. Why? Because the world around us is changing. It's all about a team. If I have to deliver a customer experience in 2 weeks to an end customer, I have to have that connect with the customer. I have to feel, think, and be the customer as any developer, any tester, any product manager, any scrum master, or everybody has to think like that end customer. EQ is a very, very, very necessary skill now.
Okay, ma'am. Because of the time constraints, we are wrapping up the session, and the last question for the day will be, so I hope I read it right. very early in your career, there was a phase in your life where your husband, Mr. Alok, had moved to Mumbai for work.
Yes, he did.
And you were to stay back in Bangalore to look after your then 2-year-old son, Adi.
Yeah.
So, how did you deal with the challenges that you would have faced managing both work life and parenting single handedly?
So, one of the reasons why I moved out was I desperately wanted Adi to study in NPS, right? So, in Indra, if you're staying in Indranagar, NPS is a school that you want your child to study in. And NPS in those days, I don't know now, as soon as your child is born, you would go get a form, fill it up, submit the fees, and say, I want my child to get admission after 3 years. Okay, so every year, and you would attach for the next year, you would attach a Xerox of the previous year's application. So you're basically saying how much you want your child to get into the school. And he was 2 and he had secured admission in the school. I told Alok, so you go wherever you go. I am not leaving National Public School and going anywhere. Right? This is something that is happening for Adi. Was it tough? It was tough. Okay. Do I remember it as tough at this point of time? Actually, no. Right? Time passes, and with passage of time, tough memories kind of disappear. It's just the happiness that remains. One of the things that I do remember is, once Adi asked me if I would also leave him and go away, and that pinched. That really pinched. That I will never forget. And I made a very conscious decision from 98 is when 99 is when Alok went to about 2004. I didn't travel out at all. In 2004, I was given an opportunity. It was a great career move, and that needed me to be in Montreal for 3 months. And I went and asked my child, how children change. I said, I need to travel. Can I? He said, yeah, get me 2 red t-shirts and get me this baseball ball and this one, some other game. In 3 months is okay. And I just looked at him and said, here I'm dying of guilt and I'm thinking, what am I going to do my child? And all he wants is 2 red t-shirts, right? So priorities change, really. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. At that point of time, it was very important for me to take care of Adi. Okay, and I said I won't travel out. Was I happy? Yes, I was happy because I was doing absolutely the right thing for what was needed at that point of time. At a time when I needed to travel, my son was okay. I said yes, I should travel because that really helped and shaped my career. I am where I am because I took that assignment. So back to your work-life balance question.
Thank you. So this is something I'll be taking away with me today, that sometimes, be it work or life, you will have to sacrifice something for the other to be better, right?
And don't take it to heart. Once you made a choice, be happy about it.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us this evening, for sharing your life experiences, your life journey. And I believe everyone here will take something back from this.
Different thought process, and we need more of you. Okay, so don't be afraid, really. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Amrita, Maria, and Andrew for beautifully carrying out this session. I would now like to request the dignitaries to please assemble on the stage.
Before we move on to the much awaited declaration of results of the Best Speaker competition, I would like to invite Ms. Shalini Amandan to share with us her feedback on the competition.
Good evening, everyone. Everyone on stage, good evening. Before I start, I'd like to just reiterate what ma'am mentioned about happiness being more important than time management. Coming from the corporate world, there's every day there is some course, some session on time management, and we all tend to concentrate on what is communicated more, and we miss out on what's important in life, which is happiness. Thank you, ma'am, for that. And that is something I'll be taking away today. Coming to the debate, economic growth is more important than ecological protection. It is definitely an interesting topic, and I would like to congratulate all the participants today. You all did a great job, and I know that it takes a lot of courage to come up and speak in front of your classmates and the dignitaries as well. So congrats to all of you. And I know the favorite topic was against. I think all of you, or most of you, spoke about the topic, against the topic. And I would like to commend those who spoke for, because it took courage to go against the normal trend. And so you all did a good job as well. Some of you had good content, some of you had good delivery, some of you were all-rounders. So we had about I think the judges and I, we had about 4 people who stood out, and I would like to say that all of you did a good job, and those of you who might have found it a little bit difficult with your delivery, nothing to be discouraged. Please, you can definitely work on it and give it another try next time, so don't be discouraged. And that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I please request Ms. Pooja Marwa to give a feedback on the Best Speaker competition?
Good afternoon, everybody, and all the wonderful people on stage. I think it was a real pleasure to hear all the young ones, and especially I think I echo Shalini may say it takes courage to come up and to speak and to and on a topic that is sort of a very current relevance to us, and also on a topic on which there is a lot of data and a lot of information. So thanks a lot, and I think one of the things that struck me as I was sitting here today, that it was for me it was personally a really interesting moment, because this competition is named and held in the name of Maria, who was someone I knew when I was a child, very similar in age, and I remember her as hugely energetic. I remember debating as being one of her most favorite things. I remember she was, she and I had this problem that we had short hair. And if you have short hair and you're in a nun school, they turn you into, in all the dramatics, you become the boy. So I remember this, we had this, in common, and I was so, it was wonderful, Professor Philip, to see that spirit today in all the young people, in the spirit that she stood for, and I think all of you stand for today, to come up here, to have the courage to go off and fight all kinds of demons. I have no doubt in my mind that, had Maria been with us today, she would have been a leader, because that's who she was. So thank you very much, all of you. And as we had quite a tough time choosing, I mean, there were a lot of you that we would have loved to commend, but unfortunately only 2 people can win. So thanks and all the best to all of you. Keep trying, keep doing this over and over again, and I'm sure you can all win stuff like this in your life. You may not win it as a competition or whatever, but if you are able to win and walk through to be happy, That is what really matters. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Finally, we have reached the penultimate moment of the day. We know, participants, that you've been waiting for a while now, so let us commence the proceedings for the prize distribution ceremony. Participants, please stay back on the dais after the results have been announced. The runners-up for the Maria Philip Memorial Best Speaker Competition 2022 is Ms. Rishita Bhattacharya Kapoor, XIME Bangalore. I would request Sheena ma'am to hand over the prize. Oh, there's more, there's more, there's more. Give it. There you go. Thank you. And finally, the winner of the Maria Philip Memorial Best Speaker Competition 2022 is, any guesses? Well, you guys are right, it is Gaurangi, XIME Bangalore. Congratulations. I would like to request our founder chairman of XIME Bangalore, Professor J. Philip, to hand over the prizes. Can we have a louder round of applause, please? Well, we have reached the end of our Foundation Day celebrations, and I would now like to request Chairman of XIME Kochi, Ambassador C.P. Ravindranathan, to hand over a token of our gratitude to our chief guest, Ms. Sheenam Ori. So, I request you to hand over a token of our gratitude to Ms. Padmaja Alaganandan. To Dr. Arpita Datta. And to Ms. Shalini Amalan. I would now like to call upon Ms. Aparna Gopan to deliver the vote of thanks.
This event would not have been possible without the founder of XIME and chairman of XIME Bangalore, Professor J. Philip, who has always strived to provide us, his students, with multiple opportunities to interact with industry stalwarts and business leaders. We thank Chairman XIME Kochi, Ambassador C.P. Ravindranathan, for always encouraging us and keeping the students of this college abreast with current affairs. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to President of XIME Society, Mr. Anil J. Philip, for constantly motivating us and empowering his students to push their boundaries and challenge the status quo. we thank Director XIME Bangalore, Dr. M. Nelayappan, and Dean Academic XIME Bangalore, Professor Madhukumar, for always being ever so supportive and proactive. Last but not the least, we would like to thank our esteemed panel of judges and our participants from XIME Bangalore, XIME Kochi, and XIME Chennai for their compelling arguments and enthusiasm. Each and every one of you were fabulous. Thank you, audience. You have been great. Have a great evening ahead. Thank you. I would now like the dignitaries to be escorted to the VIP guest house for high tea.
I request both the winners to come up on stage. You can carry your trophies with you, it's fine. Bring your trophy.